My dad recently got married to another woman. I need desperately in need of advice. I am 18F. I have two sisters, 19 and 13. My dad recently got married to another woman after divorcing my biological mom over some very unnecessary things and family feud. My stepmom and dad now have a son together. I don't want to create problems for them nor break them apart. That's the last thing I would want for my little step bro. I only want to get out of this family, along with my sisters, both who also want out due to a lot of mental abuse. In the beginning, my stepmother made me trust her. She took advantage of the fact that I never had that bond with my bio mother, and she made me build that sort of bond with her with trust. Sadly, it was one-sided. Eventually, she would start with her tantrums at home. Whenever my dad and her would fight, she would blame it on me and take it out on me. My dad and my stepmom speak in their native language, which me and my siblings are not completely aware of, but we do understand enough to know causes of their fights at times. This one time, I remember having a headache. My stepmom wanted to go to the mall desperately because she was tired of being home. We were in a car ride back home from my dad's office, and he pulled over in front of a chemist because he needed something. Before he left from the car, he started complaining about something in their language. Me and my sisters understood enough to know that it was something related to my little brother. She sighed very forcefully and loudly to make sure I heard it. And she said, your dad is angry because he wants to go to the mall. Just go today and sit out your headache. And I knew it wasn't true, but I just said, okay, and let it be. I started going to the gym back in 2023. I met this guy I really liked, and we started working out together just as friends, innocently. My mom decided to show up at the gym uncalled for, and she saw me spotting him at the bench press machine. She called me out and asked me, "What is this? Who is this boy?" She wouldn't believe a thing I said, and she told me to get my things and leave. We did not speak for a couple days after this. She saw that I had kept a journal with me. She sneaked into my room while I was at school, and she read everything and decided to hold it as leverage. There was a boy who had threatened to hurt me by using nudes and texting my relatives. He went as far as texting my sister and my classmates. I told my stepmother about this, and she knew how much I feared my dad and did not like the idea about him finding out. A day after I talked to my dad about problems between me and her, which made me extremely anxious, she decided to go behind my back and tell my dad about this. While a boy, I have completely lost my respect and trust in her. My sisters and I have a group chat where we talk about stuff that bothers us. She took my little sister's phone and took photos of our chats because she did not like the way we talked about her. Whenever me and my sisters would laugh and did not include her, she would get mad at us and assume that we were laughing at her and were laughing about the fact that her and my dad were arguing. She would then show us an attitude all night and not speak to us. I told my stepmother about how much dad's brother had assaulted me on my 12th birthday. Instead of showing me pity just for formality's sake, she told me not to tell my dad, otherwise he would hurt my uncle and whatnot. Recently, I had my 18th birthday, for which neither my stepmother nor my dad were present. She called me the next day and said, "I have good news for you." I asked her what was, and she said, "I am not pregnant." I asked her how that was good news, and she said, "I am just saying it's good news for your sisters and you. I don't know what she thinks of us. We are not that bad. We show her a lot of respect, and we try our best to make her feel comfortable." Then I have a rabbit who does not have any friends. I am her main source of company, yet I cannot give her as much entertainment as her roaming around the house. One day, my stepmom decided to stir up a lie and say she was having allergic reactions to the rabbit. I know she's lying because I have tested her using my rabbit's fur. uh, now my rabbit is stuck in one room because she doesn't want her around the house. uh, I had to stuck in one room because she doesn't want her around the house. I had to stuck in one room because she keeps my rabbit. Yesterday, my older sister was leaving for college. We were all packing her things up with her. My dad and stepmom, along with bro, are on a trip right now. We were in our parents' room. The place where they are is 3 hours behind the time zone where we live in. My stepmom decided to call my younger sister and get mad about her assumption that her school started at 8. I mean, it actually starts at 9. She started yelling at her, asking her why she left at 8:50 and that the driver had been waiting since 7:30. The driver clearly knew school started at 9 and he needed to be here around that time, not at 7. So yet again, a lie. My sister started crying and she cut the call. I called her back and cleared everything out to her. I sent her the wrong note from school with intentions of sending her the circular, which mentioned the school timings, and I deleted the wrong one. Her trust in me is so little that she asked me to resend the one which was wrong along with the right circular. Then, after clearing this out, she decided to get mad that we were in her room packing my sister's things up. The laundry room is joined with hers, so it would be easier for us to pack rather than going back and forth. She then calls my younger sister and asks her to see if my dad's picture was on the desk. She just wanted an excuse to see the room. Then my stepmom says to open the video cam and her the room. She says, okay, in an angry tone, and then cuts the call. I become extremely emotionally sensitive when I'm talking to somebody and they completely reject to understand my point. Only recently have I started arguing with my stepmother. At times I do end up crying. I broke down this one time, and she told me to stop victimizing myself and that I wasn't always right. Tonight, she called my sister again. She seemed angry about something. My sister was sleeping in my parents' room for a while due to lack of space in my room, but she was told to go back into my room and sleep with me. My stepmom called and asked in a very demeaning manner why she didn't leave her room. My sister was, in fact, in my room and told my stepmom that she could video call her. On video call, my stepmom most probably wanted to take her frustration out on me. So she told my sister to point the camera at me. I pretended to be asleep. She cut the call, saying, so your sister is asleep, huh? uh, she does a lot of things with hidden intentions. I cannot seem to point out what it is. She mentioned out of the blue that my little brother was going to take over my father's business when he was older. I do try very desperately to convince myself that she might have good intentions or that I'm overreacting, but I cannot. I am over with these mind games and I want peace. When I go out, I feel so nauseous on the way home because I have to deal with her. How do I make it out? Story 2, my mom wants family therapy after being estranged by most of her children. What should I do? For context, my boyfriend, 27M, and I, 26F, have been with each other for 9 years. We have been living together for 8 years. He moved in with my parents and I a year after dating before we eventually moved out. We just moved into our second apartment together and have been going through a rough time. His father is currently terminally ill, and I, naturally, have put everything aside to be there for him during this time. He recently got back last weekend from visiting his father in another state. As soon as he gets back, he breaks down in my arms, and the next day he wants to have sex like rabbits. Um, I figured he needed some comfort and love, so I let him relax while I took care of him. It was nice. Yesterday morning, he left his phone in the bathroom. I didn't really think anything of it and went to do my busy, but he got a notification for his alarm. This was about 6:30 IM. I went to turn his alarm off, and as soon as I open his phone, the first thing I see is the profile of an OnlyFans model on Instagram. We have had trust issues in the past with him having problems with porn, liking pictures, and even messaging another girl at one point. Somehow we've managed to talk it all through. But this feels like the tipping point for me. He knows how I feel about this. I have always been extremely self conscious and shy about my appearance with a skin condition that can cause flare ups. It takes a lot for me to be sexual with someone and feel beautiful. On top of this, he is my first and only boyfriend. I have never been with anyone else in any capacity before him. Where he has had multiple partners before me. He let me look through his phone the next day today, and if you looked through his phone, you wouldn't even know he has a girlfriend. He has multiple emails from dating websites and apps encouraging him to sign up. His phone recommends dating apps to him. Absolutely no photos of me or us together, even though I've sent him hundreds over the course of 9 years. When I go on his Instagram search bar, every single letter in the keyboard, I'll type one letter and a bunch of profiles comes up that are clearly OnlyFans models. When I do that on my Instagram, the only people who come up are people I'm friends with. So just how much is he engaging with these profiles? Needless to say, I blew up on him, cried a lot, screamed. We've been talking it through, but I'm not sure what to do. I feel betrayed, ugly, and just stupid, but I also feel conflicted. I have given so much of my life to him, have always supported and defended him, and have never, ever betrayed him. In the beginning of our relationship, he had asked me for sex every day, sometimes multiple times a day. He even admitted on the first date he was hard the whole time. And then suddenly we never did it. Um, to the point I complained about it, to the point to me, it felt like he felt obligated to have sex with me. We've moved past this, but I still get confused sometimes when he's all over me randomly. The entire time, he never stopped looking at porn and girls. He had even kept nudes of all his previous GFs and hookups about a year and a half into our relationship before I made him delete them. He admitted to me he hasn't talked to any girl since that last one 5 years ago and has only looked at girls on Instagram, nowhere else. But IDK, if I can believe him. He says he loves me and that I'm the best and most important thing in his life, that from here on out, I'll have full transparency from him. But he's said that before. As someone who's experienced SA multiple times before and with a father who has an entire secret family, I can go on tangents about hating some type of men and can be brutally honest sometimes about how I feel. Maybe this has scared him from being completely honest with me like I am with him. KAGA for feeling like this. Am I being stupid for putting up with it? I have no one else to talk to about this and need an unbiased opinion. Story 3, AATA for expecting my boyfriend to put the toilet seat down. I, 24F, was talking to my boyfriend, 29M, the other day about the importance of putting the toilet seat down, especially when he comes to my home. He said he didn't get that whole thing. I asked him to elaborate because I said, surely he uses the toilet seat when he goes to and just chooses to stand up when he pees. But most women, or just PPL with vaginas, sit down to do both. We can't stand up and pee, so it makes sense that a man who wants to pee standing up can put up and then put down the toilet seat. Here's where things get a little weird. He told me he doesn't use the toilet seat ever. He said he thinks his ass is too big. He's only a few inches wider than me, hip/pelvis wise, and that he sits on the bare rim of the toilet to shit. At this point, I genuinely thought he was joking, But things got kind of heated and he was almost upset with me for not understanding that the toilet seat is just an extra piece and really isn't necessary or comfortable in his opinion. And he still doesn't put the toilet seat down, which constantly reminds me about this argument and just how weird it was. I guess I'm just here asking if anybody else has ever even heard of this being a thing. As a kid, my grandpa left the seat up at his house, and I literally fell into and got stuck in the toilet briefly. It never even crossed my mind that people would intentionally sit on the toilet with no toilet seat. Not to mention, he's proposing this like not using the toilet seat should be the norm, hence the I don't get the whole toilet seat thing in the first place. In its statement that started this rabbit hole. I truly cannot tell if he's serious, hence why I'm asking if anybody else can relate to this. If he is lying, which my friends believe he is, why would he go to such extreme lengths just for a bit that doesn't even make any sense and is honestly just uncomfortable for us both? It caused a whole argument, and I just don't know if that's a worthwhile bit to commit to. Either way, I'm a bit concerned. TLDR, my boyfriend says he never uses the toilet seat and prefers to just sit on the bare rim of the toilet. I can't tell if he's gaslighting me with an elaborate bit or if this is a thing that other people also do. Would love to know what you all think. Story 4, don't understand these triggers now. It's been 3.5 years since my husband died. I have not done much in that time. I was a stay-at-home mom for 17 years and was fortunate to receive his pension that goes directly to bills. So I don't have a job to get out of the house, and I don't care. I can't seem to finish large tasks since his death. That's the polar opposite of how I used to be. I just chopped off most of my hair myself 2 weeks ago. I like it. It's like a giant fuck you to who I was supposed to be. It's so strange that a culmination of triggers from various things in my past keep coming at me, and I don't understand why now. Um, it's so stupid. Example, my older son texted me about music the other day and mentioned a song that immediately reminded me of my first love. I had lost my virginity to him and got pregnant and got an abortion. I thought I was doing the right thing. We were very young and I didn't want to hold him down. We broke up and he moved away and got another girl pregnant the next year. I'll never forget our last conversation and how he said he had no choice. I said, I guess it all depends on who you knock up, and hung the phone up on him. I went down the rabbit hole and looked him up online. I had not seen him in over 30 years. He is fat and bald, but I also felt like I felt back then extreme pain and loss. I smiled at his smile in the picture in sadness. Uh, I've had all these intrusive thoughts of my past relationships and feel like I'm being forced to relive painful memories. When I try to stop thinking, I get nightmares instead. I know why I ended up with my husband, and I know part of it is feeling cheated that he's dead. And others who gave me pain are seemingly living their dreams and happy endings. I don't fit anywhere. I feel cheated that I always gave and gave, and I've got nothing left. I don't want a new relationship. I wish I knew the answers to all my what ifs. I don't understand why I'm here, but am basically dead. I wish I still cared. Story 5, AITA. I told my sister to marry the man that cheated on her. I, 27F, told my sister, 25F, to marry the man that cheated on her. So my sister called me the other day in tears because it's a week before her wedding and her fiance, 21M, had slept with her old bully. Now, before I continue, let me explain the bully situation. My sister, we will call her Sarah, was working at a local grocery store back in 2016 and had met her ex-boyfriend there. Now, this is where the bully, we can call her Belle, comes into play. Her ex-boyfriend, we can call him Steven, broke up with Belle. They'd been dating for like 2 years when this happened because he had fell in love with my sister at first sight and wanted to get a chance with her. Belle was devastated that Steven had left her so easily just to ask Sarah out. No weird cheating like behavior. He literally just broke up with Belle the week he met my sister. Instead of being mad at Steven, she swore to one day make my sister feel as miserable as she did. She started sending her threats, constantly texting her phone, constantly texting Steven. And it got to a point where it was extremely possessive, and the law had to be mentioned to make her stop. Sarah and Steven broke up in July 2019, and she soon met her now fiance, Mike, later that year in December. Okay, that's backstory on Belle. Now back to now. One day last week, my sister had to check Steven's bank statements because he was complaining about not having any money for basic things, just to see if they had been paying for subscriptions they don't use anymore. And in general, just trying to figure out where cut back on spending. This is normal for them. Steven is horrible with money and depends on her to check these things, and found that he had been spending large amounts of money to a woman on Cash App. Now, this led Sarah down a rabbit hole. She started to go through everything and eventually found messages between Steven and Belle that had revealed they had recently slept together. Now, Belle at this point was married with 3 children and had a completely new life. For reference, her husband's name is John. Now, once she found these messages, things started to click on her head. Steven had been saying he was hanging out with a new friend he made at work that went by the name of John. Turns out he was seeing John's wife. My sister confronted Steven about this, and he didn't deny it. He actually cried. He was happy he got caught, but not in the way you may think. He admitted everything to Sarah and said he didn't realize how much he loved her until he betrayed her. And the fear of losing her made him realize just how in love with Sarah he really was. He begged Sarah to do couples therapy and begged her to give him a chance to make things right. Well, this is the point where I get the phone call with her in tears. And I told her to let me speak to him before I suggested anything because I wanted to hear it for myself. And honestly, there is no way I'm not going to say what I need to him. She is my little sister, and our parents are not the greatest. My sister and I basically raised each other because our parents were too busy cheating on each other, selling drugs, doing drugs. You get the picture. I love my sister, and she means everything to me. I live 4 hours away from her, and I still speak to her every day. We know absolutely everything about each other and promised each other when we were kids that we will stay close forever. Um, she's my best friend. So eventually she agrees to let me call Steven and speak to him myself. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the phone call, but it turned out to be better than I expected, and he was very honest with me about a lot. He left me with the impression he really wanted to fix things. So I called my sister back and told her if she really wanted to try therapy, that I would be there for her. Now, Sarah then proceeded to ask me if she should still get married next week. I didn't say yes or no. I told her that if that's what she wanted, I would be there for her on her big day, and that I wouldn't turn my back on her for making that choice. Now, our parents have a very different view on this. They called my sister weak and said that I needed to be more harsh and convince her to leave him. Our mother completely made this about her. She is a very negative person, the kind of person you could put in the middle of a sunny flower field full of the most beautiful flowers in the world, and she will complain that she's allergic or too hot. She said that she feels like, in a way, she was cheated on and that he hurt her beyond repair, and she can't have someone that hurt her like that airy into the family. My jaw dropped. I could believe my mother had the audacity to say that. Um, the whole time this was going on, our mother refused to speak to my sister and instead had our dad relay her messages. She had abandoned my sister before she even had the chance to vent to her the whole situation. And then Our mother blamed me for supporting her, saying if I had just told Sarah that she was being stupid, she would have called off the wedding, telling me that online therapy isn't real and I'm being insane for thinking it would help them and telling them it was a good idea. Now I'm stuck feeling horrible because my mom thinks it's my fault, even though I'm just trying to be a good supportive sister. I know once she makes her mind up, you can't change her mind. So even if it turns out badly, I want to be there for her, not push her away. And I do feel like Steven really wants to try to fix things, but now I don't know.